are you licking my gobstopper?
Strike that. Reverse it.
Fancy punks! Lick my plate! Drainage!
It'll be 10 minutes where it's like a Steven Soderbergh Ocean's 11 movie. It's all slick and funny and stuff. Then just the most horrific shit imaginable happens.
It's because that's what the fucking movie's about, you asshole.
This fucking guy.
The Tree of Life is freaking awesome.
I'm sure you think it is.
Faded to black.
Oh, you are fucking this up.
Neon slime. I said I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. Band of Cinematique, where I like, I like the sets and I like all that stuff.
What did you say? Cinematique?
I don't know.
Jared Leto, man.
You're the worst, dude. If you ever listen to this, Jared Leto, you are the fucking worst. I'd rather watch that dude, the English dude who looks like he's not done yet.
So, hell, counselor! We are now in the ninth circle! The circle of traitors! Traitors to the country! Traitors to the fellow man! Traitors to God!
You look like a stunned mullet, mate!
A what?
This movie is the opposite of getting laid.
Thank you to all our listeners who have been listening to us for over a year now. Subscribe to us on Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and any other platform that has podcasts. Visit our Patreon page, become a Patreon to get more additional content. Again, we appreciate you listening and keep watching those movies. Now, on with the show.
Hello? Hey, what's your name?
My name is Sydney.
Hello, Sydney.
Hi. Who's this? Is this Trevor?
Don't worry about who this is, Sydney. What are you doing?
I'm getting ready to go out. We're going to go trick-or-treating or trick-or-drinking.
Trick-or-drinking? That sounds fine. Say, do you like scary movies?
Of course I like scary movies.
Ooh, have you ever heard of Jason?
You mean Hockey Mask Jason? Oh, yeah, of course I've heard it. That's a stupid question.
Oh, what about Freddy?
Yes, Nightmare on Elm Street. I love that one too.
How about Michael Myers?
Of course, Michael Myers. Who is this?
Hatchet Face?
Excuse me?
What about Hatchet Face? You know, Hatchet Face. Also known as Victor Crowley.
No. Who's that?
From the swamps of Louisiana. Ring a bell now?
No. Who is this?
Well, what about Leslie Vernon? Have you ever heard of them?
Oh, I've heard of Leslie Vernon. I went to school with that bitch.
Wrong Leslie. Jesus, Sydney. Oh, God. Let's keep it simple, shall we? Tales from the Video Store. Have you ever heard of it?
Of course. I love that podcast. It's fantastic. Although I do disagree with those three assholes. Jared Leto is fine. And I would be caught on his island any day of the week with his white stuff. What?
Sydney.
Hold on, I got to start out.
It's white stuff. Jesus Christ.
I'm in his white robe.
Yeah.
I'd have his white robe off on his island any day. All right, hold on. There we go. Of course I love that podcast, although I do disagree with those assholes. Jared Leto is fine, and I would love to be trapped on an island with him in nothing but a white robe. I'd have it off in no time.
You know what, Sydney? You are the fucking worst. Do me a favor and go open up your front door, would you? I want to get a look at your insides.
What?
Come to the front door, Sydney.
Hold on one
Come to the front door now, Sydney.
Hold on 1 second. This episode is brought to you by Table Rock Creative Group, the pinnacle of video advertising in the Carolinas. Now, Doug Wall, Lee Bridges, and Garrick Lane. This is Tales from the Video Store. How we doing? Doug, do you have any more energy left after this opener we just put together?
I might have had a minor stroke.
This motherfucker was like, he had gone straight Gollum. He got into his character and he's contorting his hands and his neck is bobbing here and there and he's going, do you like?
That's a method actor.
Yeah, it was. He did. He really got into it. He completely distracted me. I wish, the only thing that sucks is I wish I had it on video. I wish the video guy would have come today like planned. That would have been awesome. How you doing, Lee?
Doing pretty good. How about y'all?
Pretty good.
Not bad.
We're coming to an end of our
Slasher
October.
block.
You know, man, you know what I just realized? We have been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
This will be our third October. Our Christmas special this year will be our third Christmas special. Which means that we've done it for 2 years. Isn't that crazy? We're gaining a listener a year.
1st of September.
Crazy. So our first Halloween, we went and watched Halloween. Remember, we went and watched the Halloween.
We did.
And then last year we had the horror movie discussion special. And then this here we're doing Hatchet and Behind the Mask.
Correct.
Pretty crazy, man. We've been doing this long.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. All right, well, shit. Let's get into it. Let's go. You got some news for us, Lee?
I do. The main news story is that we've talked a lot about the past few months about whether or not movies are going to come back, and I'm going full Doug on this. I don't think they're coming back. Because Amazon paid $125 million for Coming to America 2.
Yep.
And if they're gonna pay off something like that, then it's just I just don't see. Like we talked about last week about the Tenet would need $800 million to break even. And why would you try something like that when you could just sell it to Amazon and get your money back automatically? Yeah.
That's the future.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it will come back eventually in some form, but I don't think it'll be the form it was a year ago.
Yeah. It's going to be a very strange
it's
time.
It's very sad. And, but no,
I actually hear sorry, Lee, but I actually hear you can never really tell with Lee. Lee keeps his cards pretty close. And you never really know if he's upset or not, but you actually really sound pretty upset about this.
Well, I get just like when I saw that, I was like, it's not coming back.
Yeah, it's over.
Right.
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Movies
sucks.
as we know them will be very different from here on out.
I think you'll find...
like we talked about last week, the Cleopatra movie. Like, who is that movie for?
Right.
If Warner Brothers spends $200 million shooting it. Like, who is lining up to see a big historical epic about Cleopatra? In the amount of people they can make the money back.
What's going to happen?
They just want it to be an Oscar movie.
Well, what will happen is the drive-in, like you said last week, the drive-in will start coming back, and or a new theater will start building new theaters that are socially distanced. They're different. They're built for the new age. If that makes any sense.
You're in like the cone of silence from Get Smart, like it lowers down around you.
Or like I saw this past weekend that the Flamin' Lips put on this concert, and all the band members were in bubbles, and the whole crowd were in individual bubbles, and then it's like that's the future of fucking music, dude.
Yeah.
Just fucking kill me now, dude, if that's the way it's going to be. I just can't.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. It's like being in the Jetsons, but everything's shitty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Not great.
Well, yeah, it's all going streaming. That's when It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, has been airing on TV on network for 56 years.
Not this year.
Not this year. Apple Plus will be the only place you can see it. Why? Because Apple just was like, here, yep, I'm going to just give you some money. We're going to take it because we need content.
It's all about the money now.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Apple needs the money. I mean, they're such a small mom and pop type operation.
Yeah. No shit.
But yeah, that was my only real news story. I have my douchebag of the week is something I like to get your take on, Garrick. It is my douchebag of the week is a co-douchebag. It is Netflix and BBC, and there was a cameraman killed during the shooting of a new TV show, and it was kind of similar to a story we talked about last year. That young lady who had her arm ripped off doing the stunt on the Resident Evil movie, how she won her court case. This is a similar situation where this cameraman they were doing a car stunt. They were going to do something else, and then at the last minute they decided to change it to a car stunt. And this cameraman was hit by a Range Rover and killed instantly. And his family and his wife and kids are suing Netflix and BBC because he never should have been there. They never should have been doing that stunt. Stunts are like physics. Everything has to go just right. And so my douchebag of the week is Netflix and BBC. They're a co-douchebag. How can companies that big, like we was just talking about, make mistakes that terrible?
Well, and even and why would?
Which I'm sure it wasn't necessarily Netflix. It was the producers they hired, but still, at the end of the day, it was.
They're responsible for it, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And really, I don't know about Netflix. Well, I don't know. Okay, that's a lot of hierarchy. But that comes down on the producers and changing up a stunt last minute that they hadn't planned, that they hadn't done their homework on. You know what I mean? I mean, like Evel Knievel, what's his name? David Blaine planned for years for one stunt to make sure Alex Honnold practiced for years. I mean, he knew El Capitan, and when he finally went up there with no ropes, he knew exactly where his steps were going to be. This step here, here, hand here, and it didn't change. If he would have just last minute decided, well, I'm going to grab that rock, he'd have died. So yeah, that's.
But he wasn't putting anyone else in danger.
You're right, but I'm just saying that's how careful that is. You can't just last minute go, fuck it, let's do it some other way, and. Yeah, you're right. That cameraman should have never been there. And I hope his family gets all the money that they can possibly get because they deserve it.
Oh, I completely agree. But it's in England, so England has such a weird legal system that they have to have, like, a bunch of hearings before they actually go to trial. So who knows when that will actually be.
And they'll probably say, and knowing Netflix and douchebag or not and BBC, they'll probably settle. They'll probably say, hey, $4 million, man, and let's just not go to court. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know how much the price of a life is. But
that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
It's a terrible situation.
It's a terrible situation. Those producers should never get to work again. You know, that girl, remember the other cinematographer a few years back? They were shooting the Allman Brothers movie. Her name has slipped my mind because I wasn't ready for this.
Sarah something.
Yes, Sarah. And none of those people have worked again. They haven't worked again, and her family got a good settlement, but those guys have not worked again because of negligence.
Didn't one of them go to jail?
Yeah, one of them went to jail. That she should have never been up there. It's funny because I was in the mountains yesterday, and we were shooting an active railroad right next to it, and it made me scared. We were in a tunnel. And I wouldn't even go in the tunnel. Like, it just scared me to be in the tunnel. So I couldn't imagine going out on a bridge of an active railroad at all and trying to plan something. Like, that's just... And I'm in a situation where I have plenty of room to move. Even in the tunnel isn't even far, and there's no way I wouldn't see the railroad coming. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't mess around with that kind of stuff. I don't know why... I don't know how those mistakes are made. That sucks. Where did you see that article? I'd like to read about that.
I'll send it to you on Deadline Hollywood.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
Well, I got some news. And I sent it last night to prepare you guys, but then I realized, for some odd reason, because you guys are on Samsung and I'm on Apple, sometimes my stuff bounces back. But in 2021, they are redoing Texas Chainsaw Massacre again. Mm-hmm. Is this a joke? Are we really going to do another one of these movies?
I haven't seen the last two. There was one in 2013, and then there was one just called Leatherface that had Stephen Dorff in it. I think from like 2018. I haven't seen either one of them. And I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'll be 3 movies behind.
Wow. But I guess it comes down to this week's movies for me to speak about how it's so easy to make money. So why not do it? So
from what I read about it, it's supposed to be, this new one is supposed to be in direct connection with the original.
Oh, okay. Kind of like Halloween. Kind of like the new Halloween.
Yeah, and how the fuck did that work out?
Yeah.
This is kind of the way I'm thinking is, how's this new Leatherface and all that going to work out,
right.
45 years later? Answer, it's not.
Right.
I mean,
But if it makes an obscene amount of money like the 2018 Halloween did, there'll be even more of them.
Exactly.
And it will. It's guaranteed, man. I think that it's a guarantee that it will make money because I'll probably go see it. We'll probably do it for the show. All they did was put out a poster.
I like the look of the poster. It's a cool ass looking poster, but
so the painting, actually a very nice looking poster.
Yeah.
That is something I would like to see come back, is because posters used to be like when you saw the poster for Big Trouble in Little China, it was this painting. And you knew it, you kind of got a sense of the movie. Whereas opposed now, it's just 2 big photoshopped heads in a single color background. With the 2 actors in it, or whatever, and they mean nothing, But at least when it's a piece of art, like a painting or what have you, at least it's kind of like a tiny sneak preview of the movie. Like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre with the, who will survive or what will be left of them. You know exactly what type of movie you're getting into.
Absolutely. Well, and the caption on the poster is, in 1974, the world witnessed one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history. In 2021, which would be
46.
It's like 60 years later. The face of madness returns. So if anybody interested in that, I'm all slightly interested, but it's actually, they've got TexasChainsaw.com up and running. I'm sure that you can get all your updates on that new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And maybe it's a reboot. Maybe it's like
maybe Gus Van Sant's doing.
Maybe
the
it
first
takes
one
place in
shot
1975, or you know what I mean. I don't know. I would prefer that. I think over doing a sequel or something that's 45 years after.
Maybe Gus Van Sant could do it shot for shot and add Vince Vaughn jerking off in the closet as the one extra shot, like he did Psycho, and everybody will love it. What a fucking joke that was. And I like Gus Van Sant. Not real sure why he did that.
The same reason every other movie's made. Lots of money.
Yeah.
Lots of
all
money.
For the doll hairs.
Yeah.
Yep. Alright, well, so we got a lot to cover. We did 2 movies this week. 2 movies.
Right.
And both were low-budget horror films. Want to get into it?
Yeah, both sort of, they're movies based on, not remakes, but they're obviously inspired by older slasher movies.
Yes, for sure.
And they both came out within like a year of each other, which is the reason I guess the real reason I picked them was they're both on Amazon Prime and we could all watch them, you know.
Yep.
Easily. And plus, I've been thinking about doing a versus episode for a while, you know, trying to think of different types of episodes to do, you know, change things up. And so here we go. This will be the first one. I guess we'll see if we do another one after this. Yeah, but it's 2006 Hatchet and 2007 Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
2006 Hatchet is a group of tourists in New Orleans go out on a haunted boat tour, which is actually popular down there. Only they go on the wrong one, and they end up at Victor Crowley's house in the swamp, where he commences to pull heads and arms and limbs off and throw them against the same tree over and over again. So, what did you think, Doug? Let's start with Hatchet.
Man.
Oh God! It's prefaced with that. You know it's bad.
Look, the opening scene with like the father and the son, you know, and they're out like gator hunting or whatever.
Robert Englund, by the way, who cameos in both of these movies.
He does. Was that part alone? I was like, oh man,
here we go.
Fuck, really? I just, I admit I thought, you know, I'm probably not going to like this, and I tried to be as open-minded, you know. What I liked about it, I liked some of just like the one-liners in it, really more than anything else, you know, like, they go looking for this other haunted boat tour, and Candyman comes to the door, and, you know, they're talking about shit, and he's like, moral of the story is you can't hook up with itchy chicks, because apparently somebody hooked up with a girl with crabs or whatever. You know, that's what this is.
The only funny line in the whole movie was when the black dude goes, "Hey man, can you spot me for this?" And his buddy goes, "You don't have any money?" He goes, "No, I'm just not paying for this shit."
Yeah. The guy Jack Cracker that's trying to warn them not to go on this boat ride. And the guy that driving the boat's like, oh, no, man, he's crazy. He drinks his own piss. And lo and behold, once they kind of pull away, he pulls out, like, this fucking bladder full of his own piss and drinks it. I mean, you know, it's a movie that constantly is making fun of itself. But it's not... It's just not entertaining enough for my taste. It's, you know, the story is just not, it's a nothing story. It's like, this dude, this weird fucking kid that got axed to the face when he was a kid, so I guess he's Hatchet Face, and a.k.a. Right. Victor Crowley, and he shows up, and it's clumsy, and it's fucking sucky, dude. Like, I just didn't enjoy, I always try and enjoy what we watch, no matter what. And I just, like, I couldn't make myself enjoy it. Like, even when the fucking dude gets his head, like, his fucking jaw ripped off, even, you know, if you verbalize that to me, I would be like, yes, that's amazing. But when I watched it, I was like, And I think I know what the issue is. And maybe it is and maybe it isn't, but I think a little bit of it falls on the fact that I am 100% a generational horror movie snob. I like what I like from the time that I was a kid in the late 70s and through the mid 90s. Those are my favorite horror memories. Those are the horror movies that I don't give a shit whatever comes out in the future. They're never going to be held in the kind of esteem that I hold certain movies, like we talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre and a host of other ones. And I think that's why, like for people of a certain age, because I read a lot of positive reviews about this, and people being like, oh man, yeah, like when we were kids, like this was our, you know, this is what we watched, this was our movie. And I started thinking, you know, for me, something like Chopping Mall, you know, that if I showed somebody who was in their late 20s or early 30s, they probably would be like, what the fuck is this? Which is kind of the way I felt watching this movie. It's like, I get the humor. I just don't feel like it flows well. Like a lot of older movies to me, they just, I don't know, maybe they just float in a way that I could register with. And it feels forced, and when it feels forced, that makes it sterile, and that makes it not funny, and that makes it not anything. And I would compare this movie to a movie that we did on here that I absolutely fucking hated, which was Feast. I just don't think that they're anything. The only thing I did like about this movie was the very end. The nice little surprise there at the end. But even that ending was not enough for me to be like, oh yeah, man, it's definitely worth watching. In fact, I can't imagine a scenario where I would ever tell someone to watch this. And I hate to be so negative on it, but I really just hated it.
Wow. Okay. All right, Lee, what'd you think?
I see exactly what you're saying, Doug. I agree with a lot of what Doug said. It is a very... The humor is very bro-ish.
Yeah. Like,
it's very sort of frat boy humor, but not like Animal House frat boy, like sort of frat boys now. And it's very... like, say, the best gag in it is the belt sander to the face. And where a girl gets her lower jaw sanded off with a gas-powered belt sander.
I don't know. I kind of like the girl that gets the head pulled into two too. That one was pretty good.
Some of the splatter effects are great.
Yeah.
And it is, but it's obviously a first-time filmmaker, and like Doug said, clumsy is the word to describe it. It's a very clumsily made movie, and I will agree that if I was born in 1995 and this movie came out when I was 10 or 11. Like Doug said, it'd probably be like how Doug said he like Chopping Mall, or like me, like From Dusk Till Dawn. From Dusk Till Dawn came out when I was 16. I saw it in the theater, and I still think of it sort of through like 16-year-old eyes.
Right.
Oh, I drank tequila.
It's like
because
frozen in time. Then
you drink tequila because you're an alcoholic, Garrick.
I started drinking tequila because of that movie.
I'm pretty sure we'd had plenty of
Okay,
tequila
whatever.
before 1996, but what the fuck ever.
George Clooney doing...
You'd be like a Mormon missionary now.
George Clooney doing tequila shots in that movie was the coolest thing I'd ever seen at that age. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it is all. Everything about that movie is awesome.
Yeah.
But going back to Hatchet, it's just... It's like kind of like we were talking about a few weeks ago, the King Kong remake. Peter Jackson was so close to it, he couldn't see that he was fucking it up. And I'm sure Adam Green, like, this was his dream to make this movie. And then he got the money, and then just basically, he couldn't see that he was doing things, not unprofessionally, but like, just...
Unconsciously, I think. Like, not even realizing what he's doing. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That maybe if he had, like, taken a step back and watched it and be like, I don't know, maybe that doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, just like, again, like I said, it just doesn't, a lot of it just doesn't work. It is definitely not aged well. In the, 15 years since this came out. In comparison, like, this movie came out, around the same time as movies like The Descent and other movies, which I think are, have aged beautifully. But yeah, it's not very good. I'm sure if you got a group of friends together and you were all hammered, it would probably be pretty acceptable. That's about yeah.
Well, and I'll say this: it spawned like 3 sequels. I think there's like a Hatchet 4 out there. So maybe like I say, maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're both wrong.
Oh. All right.
I really think you guys are both wrong and missed the fucking point.
Come on in, Cinematique.
I don't think you're right. So, listen. I'm going to preface this from a filmmaker's point of view. All right, Adam Green knew exactly what he was making. Mm-hmm. He got $150,000. He went to Kane Hodder, who was famous on Jason, and said, "I gotta have you for this movie. We're gonna put you. You're gonna be the Victor Crowley. It's gonna be great. We're gonna gore everything out. We're gonna do some stop motion and some crazy shit. We're gonna do some crazy effects. And when the effects don't work, we're gonna cut to a tree and throw a bunch of blood onto it." If anybody noticed that transition a few times, he made the movie for $150,000, and it is a piece of shit, but it's a good piece of shit. He made $240,000. Okay, didn't make much money, right? But it's got a cult following, and it spawned 4 sequels. At the Austin Fantastic Fest, it won the Audience Award, Best Picture, Best Special Effects, Best Actor.
What the fuck is the Austin? What'd you call it?
I'm just saying, like, so
it won some shit at a made-up fucking award show, and I'm supposed to give a fuck?
What I'm saying is the horror club, the comic convention guys, the horror movie conventions, that kind of stuff, that's exactly who Adam Green was making this movie for. You can laugh all you want. I enjoyed it. I loved it from a filmmaker's point of view. I would love to be handed $150,000 to do a slasher flick and have as much fun as those guys did. The dialogue was terrible. Terrible. Oh, it was horrible. But
I wrote in my notes. I wrote in my fucking notes. Who gets paid to write this drivel? It's fucking terrible.
You're right, but he got Kane Hodder, so he got to make it.
Kane Hodder, at the point of this movie, was fucking probably 60 fucking years old. Hadn't been in anything in over a decade. He's a fucking name only.
It's a cult classic.
Well,
this is a cult classic. Do you watch John Waters? Have you watched Pink Flamingos? Have you watched fucking Divine eat dog shit? I watched that movie one time, but you know how many people love that fucking movie? This is the same way. This has an audience. His second one he was given $250,000 for, and guess what? It only made $62K. And then Hatchet 3 years later, is undisclosed. So he probably didn't make shit. But here's the weird one.
Well, now the Hatchet 2 thing, that was not his fault. The MPAA pulled it out of the theater for being unrated in the theaters.
Okay, so there, I missed that part. Well, then Victor Crowley, the 4th and final adaptation, that somebody gave him $700,000 to make a 4th one of this. There was an audience, and Adam Green knew it. He's smarter than I am because he was able to figure out what to do with $150,000. Dude, honestly, he probably paid Kane Hodder 50 grand of that. So he had $100,000 to make this movie in this little backyard in Louisiana. And by God, for me, he pulled it the fuck off. Good for him, man. Good for fucking him. No, you're right. It's a shitty movie, but it's a cult classic. And fuck, he was able to make 4 of these, and he directed 3
You just compared this to some fucking Divine eating dog shit.
I'm saying it's cult
because
classic.
There's fucking 10 people out there who like that sort of thing. That makes it a cult classic.
10? It made... What are you talking about? It made $240,000 in 2007. People are still raging over Hatchet.
What we use wooden fucking nickels in 2007? You act like it was fucking 50 years ago. What are you doing?
Look, I'm just telling you, man.
Look, I appreciate the fact that you've come to this fucking guy's defense, but you got to come stronger than that.
Fair enough. I'm coming from a filmmaker's point of view.
I get it.
Pretty smart.
But how can you praise this guy and bash Adam Sandler last week?
Okay, well that's
because why? What's he doing that this guy's not doing?
Right, that's great. That's great that you brought that.
Because he has a way fucking bigger cult following than this fucking asshole Scott Green or whatever the fuck his name is, fair. Right? So what's the difference? Why is what this guy doing is so honorary, and what's the difference?
I'm glad you asked me that.
All right.
Because I listened to Smartless, the podcast, and they had Adam Sandler on, where they have special guests.
Okay.
Jason Reitman and a couple other guys have special guests. Well, Adam Sandler was on, and Adam Sandler kind of summed it up. He was like, hey, I'm going to keep doing this as long as they let me do it. He's like, Hubie Halloween, it's my normal, it's not my stretch, but the kids love it, and it's what I do, and it's what I do easy, and I was like, he was talking about Punch Drunk Love and how he was so scared he was going to mess that up, and getting into dramatic roles like Uncut Gems is just nerve-wracking because it's outside of his comfort zone, and I'm sitting there going, you know what? He's fucking right. Like, I think I bashed him a little bit too hard because he has it all figured out. And even though Hubie Halloween is my kind of movie, there is the people that, just like Hatchet, just like the crowd that likes this movie, there's a crowd that likes Adam Sandler. And that's the way we get in to start making movies, is just get a little bit of money and find one person to do a cameo and do a movie. And if you can make a movie for $200,000, by God, you can make $500,000, and you can make another one.
Sure.
And you're right. It's these cliques of people and what they like, and you got to cater to that. And that's what Adam Sandler and Adam Green, all the Adams, are doing.
Okay, I thought his name was Scott Green. Sorry, Adam.
It's okay, but that's what they're doing. And you're right. I'm not telling. Look, this movie, I would watch freaking The Phantom Thread 16 times over without stopping before I'd watch Hatchet one more time. But I appreciate what he did, and I appreciate how he did it. And because of the amount of money he had and the business plan that he had, by God, kudos to him. That's all I got to say about it.
Fair enough.
Okay.
All right, so what about the other one?
Somebody else can fucking start on this other one.
Okay,
I'll start on that. It's from a year later, from 2007. It's called Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, directed by Scott Gloslin is his name. And it is a sort of a mockumentary about a guy who wants to be a slasher. This guy, Leslie Vernon, he's sort of the urban legend of this small town, Glen Echo, and this documentary crew is following him around. As he, sort of is building up to the night that would be the movie,
Right.
And I actually like this one a lot more than Hatchet. And the thing I like about it is the sincerity of it. The thing it puts over the top for me is that they're not referencing slasher movies. In this world, like Freddy is a real person, Jason, they're like criminals.
Mm-hmm.
The way people now are like women write letters to serial killers on death row. People in this world are obsessed with what we would call slashers. And to me, that since there's no sort of like in Hatchet, they're obviously joking about it. There's nothing jokey about it. I mean, there's humor in it, but it's not at the expense of the genre itself. There's more of a sincerity to it, and to me, sincerity goes a long way. And the best thing about it is that it's all shot on DV, just probably like Best Buy handy cams. But the night of the movie, when the van opens back up, it goes to being shot on like 16 millimeter. It's shot like they're in the movie. Is it the best thing in the world? It isn't, but it's compared to slasher movies, it's to me much more imaginative than something like Hatchet. At least this guy was thinking about how to do it. In a way that hadn't been done. Like it's not like it doesn't have the same plot as like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. It has a completely different way of like on our text thread last night. I was talking about like the execution. In genre movies, the execution is where the originality is. Like there have been 10,000 bank robbery movies, but if you come up with a way to make a bank robbery movie in a way that is different than 90% of them, then you're doing something.
Right.
And to me, that's why I would rate this higher than Hatchet. What do you guys think?
Well, for me, it's funny because I watched this before I watched Hatchet and before I had my divine intervention. And so I watched it, and of course, on Facebook, I posted up, how on earth can you take this piece of shit movie seriously when the lead looks like Sam the Eagle from the Muppets? Now, he does look like Sam the Eagle from the Muppets.
Yeah.
Some people disagreed with me. So Robert Arctor actually said, "Nah, man, it's low-key genius. You think it's a mockumentary, but it shifts right into slasher flick level smoothly." So we go back and forth. Well, after my Hatchet and Adam Sandler turnaround, I decided to watch it again from that point of view. Sorry, dude. It's freaking fly, man. It's,
Lord of the fucking flies in here, are we, Garrick?
Yeah, I hate it.
God damn, are you like fucking
all day
growing them here?
I don't know what's happening.
You got a fly farm going on?
Yeah, I got a business. I got a farm back here, and it creeps in here. Anyway, so I watched it again, and I 100% agree with everybody. It was much better. Looking at it from a point of view of a guy who he had a bigger budget. Now he had $800,000 to work with. And this movie only made $69,000. So all those investors lost all that money. This one doesn't really have a cult following, I don't think, like Hatchet does.
Not the same way Hatchet does, no.
But it was definitely inventive. And, after my little intervention, I'm like, man, could make a movie like this. It's good. It's kind of inventive. I get it. Robert Englund's a cameo in it. I wouldn't say the execution was perfect. I wouldn't say it's a good movie, and I probably won't watch it again. But after further review, the way he went in and out of it, the way they did it, and the way he executed it was pretty good. It just isn't for me. I loved the Blair Witch Project. It was the first movie like that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were like, oh, I hate that fucking movie. God, dude, I get seasick or I get motion sickness when I watch that movie. But the execution of it was perfect.
Pretty good. This
is, and I get what he's doing here. I do get what he's doing, and it's pretty cool, and it's actually pretty good,
I think it's more conceptually, like the concept of this,
yes.
And me like outlining it and explaining it to somebody. I could make this sound fucking really badass. But the putting it together, he has a lot of parts of it that really work. I think the actor that plays Leslie Vernon, I thought he made this thing. Without him, I don't think I would have been able to make it to the end. Because everybody else was so bad. He was a very, he's a very kind of... lighthearted and almost kind of like looking at everything from like a humorous angle, but not in like a goofy way. The way he was talking to the woman that was following him around and interviewing him, and just the way he answered questions. Like I only keep pets that I can eat. Just little witty things written in for this guy, and I was like, man, this guy's really good, and he's carrying this fucking thing. When he goes and meets, like, the older serial killer couple.
Yeah.
And this dude's, like, in a deprivation tank, practicing looking dead.
Yeah.
Because that's what these kinds of characters have done, like Michael Myers when he gets hit by a car and you think he's dead and then he wakes up fucking 30 hours later or whatever. Or Jason or what have you. I thought that was a cool twist, but, again, the way that it's presented, it's just not done in a way that really, I guess, showed this as being something that I think he made it look worse than it actually is. And that's an odd thing for me to say. Like, there's a much better movie in here than we get to see. And I think that is 100% on the director. I just think that for whatever reason he just didn't see this movie for what it could have been, and I think that in that way he took a really cool idea and kind of turned it into something that is, like you said, it's not really that memorable or adored. But I think it could have been. And, I didn't really know how to judge this. Like, did I enjoy the movie? Not particularly. But I really liked a lot of it, and I liked the concept of it a lot more than the actual movie. Is it much better than Hatchet? 1,000%. I would actually recommend this probably to somebody. Maybe if they were like big fans of, I don't know, some other like mockumentary type things like, you know, The Office or something. I mean, it's just like The Office for a serial killer. It's not overtly as humorous as that, but it's still pretty witty. And I like at the end where, you know, he explains what his plan is and how he's going to do everything. But once a couple of details change, the killer and his entire plan immediately evolves to something else. And, you know, whereas it was something that it's like really cookie cutter. It's like, well, when this happens, then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this because of that.
Right.
Immediately when one thing changes, everything changes. And I thought that was a cool effect. But again, just the way that it's presented just wasn't... I don't know. It's almost like the person who directed this didn't like what he was doing and didn't give a shit about it. And I think it's a movie and a story that had a lot of potential, but in my eyes, it was wasted.
I will agree that the guy who plays Leslie Vernon, Nathan Bazell, I think it is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how you say his last name. He is great in it.
He's the movie.
Like he is. When at the end, right before the night, when him and the interviewer chick are sitting in the barn, and he starts crying because he's so excited.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was rewatching this, I was like, damn, he's doing really well. Like he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, you know. He's like, I'm so excited, you know, and he's just like, and he's like, you're just making a movie. He's like, this is my life. What he says to the female reporter.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right. He is carrying the entire movie. You know, I mean, and I like
when it comes down to that final night, and once the night begins, he's not the fun-loving like buddy of theirs, Leslie Vernon anymore. He is 100% slasher.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
And I like how...
You think that's what the director wanted to do? He was just sort of, because of the constraints of the filmmaking, he had to do the mockumentary part?
I don't know, man.
Because the third act is very slickly done.
Yes.
You know, and maybe that's more, he just wanted to make that movie. And just the sort of the conceit is what got him the funding. You know, the first two acts are a mockumentary, then it becomes a horror movie. You know, and Robert Englund said he said yes just because he wanted to be the good guy.
Yeah,
he's like, he'd been waiting 40 years for somebody asking him to be the hero in a movie. You know, so I totally understand that. He's Donald Pleasance from Halloween, essentially.
Yes,
100%.
And but I mean, I enjoyed it more than you did, Doug. I think it's you know, compared to a lot of, you know, I guess neo slasher movies, I think it's, you know, head and shoulders better than them.
Then most conceptualized, like evolution of horror, doing something like this. Like I say, the concept of it, man, I loved it. I just didn't like the execution.
I got you. I understand.
You know, more than anything else.
What's that?
What'd you think?
I already told you.
Oh yeah, you did.
Oh, that's right.
That's how unimportant I am.
I totally forgot about you.
I've already told you. I agree with Lee. From a filmmaker's point of view, it's pretty good. It didn't make any money. And
did you record? Did we get that recorded? The I agree with Lee part?
Yes. I'll say it again.
Okay,
I agree with Lee on this one.
I'm gonna need that as a soundbite email to me.
Sure.
I'm gonna make it the when I get a text, that's what's gonna play.
All right. Well, there you go. I think they're both anybody that likes horror movies, I think they're both watchers. That's just me, though. And
I agree. Yeah, give him a shot. Hey, I agree with that. Go ahead and give him a shot.
Doug says, no, don't watch either one. Don't waste your time.
Hatchet is just fucking pointless, man. I mean, no.
Hatchet is a hard no.
I just can't. There's just nothing about it that is anything, man. I would never say, yeah, man, Hatchet, it's cool. Just nothing about it is. But at least the rise of...
What he's saying is, he's Doug Wall, and he does not approve this message.
Yeah, the rise of Leslie Vernon, at least it's it's unique the way that it's presented and what it is, and I appreciate that. So, you know, in this little contest we've had between these two movies, Behind the Mask wins in a fucking
landslide.
It ain't even close.
It's like the Dodgers and the Rays in the World Series right now.
Sure. Fuck baseball too.
Okay.
Are they still having the World Series?
I think it's happening right now, as far as Garrick's telling me.
Yeah, it'll be an asterisk, kind of like the LA Lakers, but the Dodgers are going to win. Their payroll is like 16 times more than Tampa Bay. And you know what's funny? Not for anybody that likes baseball already knows this, but Atlanta had a 3-win. They were ahead of the Dodgers. 3 wins to 0.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers won 4-3. Atlanta, you guys suck.
And
they've done that before, and remember the Super Bowl a few years back when Atlanta was up 28-3 on the Pats?
Fuck Atlanta, everything too. Fuck Atlanta, fuck Hatchet, fuck you too.
Wow. Okay, correct. All right, well, I watched a couple movies, and I'll get us started. How about that for once?
I did watch a couple as well. I needed to cleanse the palate, if you will.
Oh, yeah? Were you able to cleanse it?
Not particularly. I watched some more shit is what I did.
Well, you want to start? Go ahead.
Okay. First movie I watched is based on a Clive Barker short story that he wrote in 1984, I believe, called The Midnight Meat Train.
God, that just sounds bad.
Starring Bradley Cooper and the great Vinnie Jones. Brooke Shields' dumbass is in this thing a little bit. Fucking terrible.
Brooke Shields is still alive?
She was in 2008 when this came out. Basically, this photographer is trying to find like the soul of the city in these shots, and he's just not getting dirty enough. So he starts going down to the subway and filming. Like, he films this chick almost getting like grabbed up by this gang, and like follows some other shady characters until he runs across this guy that, well, his name is Mahogany, played by Vinnie Jones, who rides around on this fucking train in the middle of the night, and whoever's on it, he hacks them up and, does some butchery stuff. It's very fucking weird. What I hate most about it, the gore is 100% digital.
God, yeah.
It's very, like, just the look of it sucks. I just don't like that look. Lots of potentially great material, I think, but it just fails to deliver once again. It's a could have been something, but just was in the wrong hands with this director, Rui Kitamura. A lot of people did like it and thought that it was a nice adaptation, but because of the way that it ends, it has a very like otherworldly kind of end. I think there was a lot more there that could have been unearthed, but wasn't. Let's see. Second thing I watched, the other thing I watched, because I read a couple of weeks ago that they're making a Scream 5. I believe it comes out in like 2022. They're going to start filming next year, I believe. And I found Scream 4 from 2011.
Awful!
It's the best fucking thing I watched.
That stats?
It's the best fucking thing I watched, if that tells you anything.
Wow.
Scream 4, it's still got Dewey in it. It's still got Gale Weathers and Sidney Prescott, and basically she moves back to Woodsboro, and
of course she does.
It's the 15th anniversary of the original killings, and they've just released a new Stab movie, which was the movie that
I remember this one.
Yeah, they kind of flipped it into, the movies that we're watching. The Scream franchise is actually, in their universe, the Stab franchise. And it does, like you would expect, a fourth movie, especially a movie that was born of the originality of something like Scream. Like, it's constantly, like, trying to make fun of itself and reinvent itself. Like, the beginning of it has, like, 4 entrances. Like, 3 of them are beginnings to these stab movies, like Stab 5, Stab 6, Stab 7, until the ultimate, the last one is the actual beginning to this. And, I mean, fuck, man, I don't know. The killer's running around recording shit. That's the new thing, and it's gimmicky as fuck. And, look, is the long-haired kid, here's my only question. Is that Macaulay Culkin? Are we?
I think it's his brother.
Are we 100% on that?
Pretty sure it's his brother. Could be wrong. I only saw that movie once.
Is his brother's name Culkin? Because I believe
Kieran. I think it's Kieran Culkin.
I think I like Culkin better.
Culkin.
Yeah. He.
Well, if it wasn't, by God, it is now.
He is Culkin from here to the end of time. From here on in. And it's got Emma Roberts in it and some other young, hot actresses and actors. And, when it came out in 2011, I'm pretty sure everybody that saw this thought it would probably be the last time that this would ever be revisited. Wes Craven directed this, and Kevin Williamson came back and wrote it. And it's just, it's repackaging. That's it.
Where's Kevin Williamson been? He only wrote the Screams, and then I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then he has nothing else in him.
I think he's done a couple of things, but, it's hard to make them all great. If you can hit on one concept like Scream, it's like,
Oh, he's been doing the Vampire Diaries. That's why I haven't heard from him.
That movie...
Wow, he's been writing the Vampire Diaries.
Nobody gives a fuck.
8 years.
Shut the fuck up about the Vampire Diaries. This movie single-handedly changed the slasher game, right?
I guess. I mean, just because it changed it didn't mean it was for the better. Okay.
I didn't say it did, but it will go down in history. I mean, it's its own thing, and it has been. Since it came out, it has been imitated from 1996 to now more than movies trying to be an older genre, like straight up copying like Halloween or the Friday the 13th. I mean, yes, there are some of those, but this movie and this concept has been tricked with and stolen and manipulated more in the last 26 years or 24 years, whatever, than anything else, slasher-wise, I think. I mean, you can't watch like a fucking parody movie, a horror parody, and there not be something about Scream in it.
That's true.
You can't. Like it's a part of like the culture now, as much as like Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers or Jason.
Where the fuck did Skeet Ulrich go?
Skeet.
Where the fuck did that go?
I think he's assistant manager at Jiffy Lube somewhere.
It might be. This might be right.
What'd you watch, Garrick?
Oh, you're done? You didn't watch anything else?
The only other thing I have is the 99 Center, and I fucking hated it too.
All right, cool. Well, I'll just hold on.
We'll save that one.
Okay.
Okay, well, I watched a little small, awesome movie that won from 1998 that won the Oscar for Best Writing. It's called Gods and Monsters, and it's about the last days of the Frankenstein director James Whale and his little relationship with his ex-Marine lawn care guy Brendan Fraser,
a.k.a. Pool Boy.
Yeah, you know what? They don't make movies like this anymore. It's simple. It's great. He has some flashbacks back to the war. Mm-hmm. There's this tension. I mean, Brendan Fraser's probably his best work, where he is just this macho ex-Marine, and then when he finds out that James is gay, thinks all this crazy, it's a little bit of dramatics, and the housekeepers who, by the way, Lynn Redgrave, she's so good in this. So good in this. This is Bill Condon. Man, it's hit or miss with him. I liked Chicago. He did Chicago. He did The Good Liar. He did Mr. Holmes, and then wrote Beauty and the Beast. So he's done a lot of things. This is his smallest movie, but I really, really love this movie. This is a Phantom Thread kind of movie. It's just a simple. It's well shot. It's very basic. It's you don't see much Steadicam work. You don't see any crazy effects. It's just a simple movie shot on a Panavision camera on a tripod, and it's fucking phenomenal.
It's a very good movie.
It really is a great movie. And then oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lee.
I was just going to add one thing. There's only one real shame about the whole, a few years ago Tom Cruise made The Mummy, and it was supposed to lead this whole cinematic monster universe.
Yes.
Which no one really wanted. But Bill Condon was finally going to get to make a Frankenstein movie. And I'm sure he was like, well, people love Tom Cruise running away from explosions, so I have this in the bag. And then he didn't. So, that sucks for him. Because obviously, you watch this movie, this is something he's obsessed with. It's sort of classic horror. And that would have been really cool to see what he would have come up with.
Yeah, it would have been. It really would have been. Great film. It's on Prime. I suggest anybody watch it. It's very simple, great storytelling. So then I watched a movie called Red Massacre: Annihilation. It is on IMDb. It's called a comedy horror. Okay. I'll tell you the reason this is fucking Instagram, and it's worse. On the Tales from the Video Store Instagram, they'll put in these they'll put in these ads that'll say, "Hey, you should watch this," or "He should watch that." Well, this one popped up, and it has my favorite guilty pleasure in it, Danielle Harris. We love you, Danielle. You should visit her at danielleharris.com or on Instagram at horrorgal. She is so still.
I thought you were going to say Kevin Spacey. I got to admit, I'm a little disappointed. But anyway.
Kevin Spacey's in jail. Oh, wait. No, he's not. Epstein got him out. Anyway. When Epstein died, it got him out. So, anyway, so this movie, the reason, this is one of those things where I was always told in film school and after film school, make whatever movie you want as long as the DVD cover is good. Somebody will buy the fucking movie if the DVD cover's good. Yeah. Well, this popped up, said Danielle Harris, and the main slasher character looked like the same character I drew for a slasher flick that I started writing years ago called Blood on Ansel Lake. And I'm like, dude, that looks kind of like my guy. This sucks. So I go on and see if I can rent it. Well, to rent it was $6 and to buy it was $9.99. So I freaking bought it to watch it because I'm like, well, this is the movie I'll review. It may be the biggest waste of $10 that I've made in a long time. And man, I have wasted plenty of money. I can assure you in my lifetime. I can assure you in the last 2 weeks I've wasted a lot of
Garrick, I've known you for like 30 fucking years. Believe me, I know how you piss away fucking money constantly.
Okay, well, this is no exception.
Yeah, you've been doing that since we were fucking teenagers.
This is no exception. The Hunters, it's about, so apparently there was a movie called Redwood. That was about some Redwood farm murders, and this is a group of badasses that travel to find this killer, and it turns into a government conspiracy, and it is shit. And even Danielle Harris, like, as fine as she is, and I love her, I love you, Danielle Harris. Visit her at danielleharris.com or HorrorGal on Instagram. As fine as she is, they don't even put any makeup on her on this. She looks like me. She looks like a 46-year-old worn out fucking lesbian.
Oh, and nobody wants that.
And nobody wants that. So everything about this movie is terrible. I'm sure the budget was $1 million. It was all shot in 2 locations and some secret army base, and it was terrible. Don't watch it.
Anything?
There was one part that
but you own it, so.
Yep, there was one part, man, that was horrible. That one of the characters that's obsessed with the Redwood murders breaks into a house and slits a girl's throat and then has sex with her after while the husband's watching. That was pretty rough.
Does he have sex with the slit in the throat?
Or no, I think no.
Oh, okay.
No.
The way you worded that, I was like, well, now that's interesting. That might be something I haven't seen yet.
You could borrow fucking mine.
I'm going to put that in a story.
Yeah, it's no good. But hey, you know what? Again, it goes to this. It's a slasher movie. If you can find the money to make it, somebody will watch it. Somebody will watch it. This character looks just like a character I had. It almost based kind of the same. A group of people go out looking for a place where some people got murdered, and they find this compound.
Yes, but that's not original to you. That is an original concept that's fucking 50 years old.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I paid $10 for it.
You're a fucking idiot.
There's 100 other people who can pay $10 for it too. Maybe.
God, I hope not.
Anybody that wants to see Danielle Harris will buy it. That's exactly why I did it. I love you, Danielle Harris. DanielleHarris.com or Horror Girl on Instagram. So, anyway, no, but I'm telling you, my concept was group of kids go hiking, eat mushrooms, get a little bit lost, find an old ratty place that's a circus that was like where they brought in a carnival, like the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Calm down.
I'm just trying to explain this fast because we're running long. It's closed down, and so they found this old lot out in the middle of nowhere to put all this stuff because they're no longer in business. And well, the carnies there decide that they like to eat kids, and these guys that are all tripping on mushrooms find themselves in a really hot, precarious situation. It's the same thing. And one of the guys has a bag on his head, and he's called Little Brother. It's the same shit.
I'm pretty sure I saw something like that.
Oh, you have? You've seen it a gazillion times.
I think I saw it again in '94, and maybe again in 2003.
You should Danielle Harris at horrorgal.com and send her that synopsis.
All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. DanielleHarris.com or HorrorGal on Instagram. We love you, Danielle Harris. We really do. Okay, moving on.
What else did you watch?
That's it, man.
That's it?
Dude, that's it. We had to watch 2 movies. Dude, I had to work 2. There's 2 movies and 2. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
How long have we been doing this show? 4 hours? Should I even do what I watched this week?
Yeah. You've got 5 minutes to sum it up, pal.
You've got 2 minutes.
Well, have you guys ever been to Danielle Harris's Instagram page? Have we mentioned that yet?
Yeah, Horror Gal on Instagram.
Creepy.
All right. Well, the first thing I watched, I'm gonna start with a horror movie. I watched it on Shudder. It's called The Mortuary Collection. It's an anthology film, and it's not bad, but it's like if you were like 13 and you hadn't seen many R-rated horror movies, it would be very good for like a 13-year-old. It's shot very well. Like the style is they spent a lot of money on like the look, the sets, and everything. And I'll give it that. It's okay. I mean, Clancy Brown, who was in a million movies, bad guy in the first Highlander. He's in everything. He's like sort of the crypt keeper type guy who tells all the stories. And I will give it this, that the sort of the story that ties it all together, the sort of the frame, is better than most anthology movies. Like even if the stories are good, the sort of the connecting story sometimes is really lame. And this one is actually it's okay. And other than that, I watched a new Scott Adkins movie called Seized, where Mario Van Peebles is this cartel boss who kidnaps Scott Adkins' son and has basically Scott Adkins go kill his competition in the course of one night. And he's wearing a vest with like a battery-mounted camera on his chest, basically kind of like a cop body cam. So Mario Van Peebles is watching him kill all these other drug dealers. And it's, I mean, like, yeah, I wouldn't put it in my favorite Scott Adkins movies. It's all right. But the best thing about it is Mario Van Peebles. He is all in this movie. He wears this big-ass cowboy hat, speaks in a Mexican accent. Like, he's just, you know, he looked like he was having a ball.
Nice.
You know. And other than that, I watched a Hong Kong movie called Line Walker 2, and I'm not really going to go into it that much because it would take a long time to explain the plot because it's very convoluted. But what they were attempting to do was do sort of an old-school Hong Kong action movie, like from the 80s, like when we watched those Michelle Yeoh movies last year, but with a sort of 2020 Mission Impossible style slickness. And it just, those two things just don't go together. Like, it's obviously a hugely budgeted, you know, movie out of Hong Kong. Like, there's, you know, like, it just looks very slick, but that with the very hard R-rated action, just, it feels weird. You know, because these people, they're only taking headshots in this movie. It's just, everyone's head is just exploding in gunfights. But then it looks like a Mission Impossible movie. The best thing about the movie is the third act is a car chase during the running of the bulls in Pamplona, Spain. And they use actual footage of, like, a bunch of yuppie idiots getting destroyed by bulls, which is separate from the car chase footage. So, and, like, it's a Chinese movie, so the CGI is okay. But when the good guy and the bad guy's car crash through a wall and fly down a hill like they would in, like, say, a Bad Boys movie, the bad guy hits a bull, and then when he goes to the wall and flies through the air, the bull is on the hood of his car. And it makes this sound effect of the bull getting killed. And I found it unbelievably funny. And I don't know if that was intentional. But then they have this, like, of course it's a Hong Kong movie, there's a 10-minute knife fight at the end where the bad guy is just destroying the two good guys. And then you're not even thinking about the bulls, like, because that's like 10 minutes ago. Then a random bull comes charging to him, and the good guys grab the bad guy and throw him towards it. He just gets trampled to death by a bull. And I was like, see, that's why you can't mesh that sort of American and Eastern style of action together, and it doesn't work because the tone is just too different.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a movie you would show like a 13-year-old like you'd show him a Mission Impossible movie. I don't think. But anyway, that's what I watched.
Great. All right. So you got your 99-cent Big Daddy. That's just.
Yeah,
is it really worth 99 cents, or should we drop it to a 75-cent?
This movie, I wouldn't pay a fucking quarter to ever watch it again because I hate it. I hate everything about it.
Wow.
But I think that it does have an audience, and I think that, like some of the movies that we've talked about today, I believe that there are people out there who love this movie and think it's great. The 99-cent movie today is The Cabin in the Woods from 2012.
Oh! I watched... That was another one, but I watched literally 40 minutes of it and cut it the fuck off.
Here's the only reason...
It's not worth 99 cents a piece.
Here's how I got through it. Richard Jenkins...
Lots of pot.
Richard Jenkins...
Yes.
Is one of my favorite actors of all time. I love him so much. I think he's so underrated. And he works in this control room that controls everything. And it's got some boobs in it. Outside of that, I really don't like it much about it.
It's horrible.
It is, though, kind of like... it's kind of like the Midnight Meat Train in that the way it ends is like... It's on a grander scale. It's like there's a lot more going on than just kind of what's on the surface, I guess. But that doesn't necessarily make it good.
Doug, you know what I was talking about behind the mask, and I was talking about how I like it. What I like is the sincerity of it.
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods is the opposite of that.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. What I like about Behind the Mask is exactly what I dislike about Cabin in the Woods. It is complete lack of... It's like... It just, yeah, like it just...
It has no soul, man. Has no soul.
Exactly, yeah.
It has no soul.
Yeah, you talk about movies that are like thrown on a fucking conveyor belt, and somebody's like, oh man, I got an idea. We'll just make it to where like they're in this house, but everything's being controlled. And then at the end, it's like, if we don't sacrifice everybody, then some fucking demons come up from hell and take over the world and kill everybody. And the only thing about that movie that I appreciated and liked is at the end when the final two characters have an opportunity to sacrifice themselves for humanity, and they're like, fuck humanity, we'll just sit here and die with everybody else and let the fucking demons rise. That's it. And in my mind, I'm like, that sounds cool. But watching it was a fucking nightmare. And what Sigourney Weaver did, I don't know if she got a fucking speeding ticket or too many parking violations to have to be in this fucking piece of shit
credit card off
for about 8 goddamn minutes was just, I mean,
I had to pay a credit card off.
I love her, but come on, man. Jesus Christ.
Now, granted, the day that I watched it, I just wasn't in the mood for it. I don't think I had a lot going on, so...
The reason I picked it is because I think that like all of the movies that we've spoken about, it's all about trying to rebrand horror and make horror new for a newer generation and give it to them in a different way than we were fed it in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And, you know,
right.
and doing it conceptually, I think is the best way to do it. And sometimes it works, like, you know, and everybody's about it, like Scream, and then sometimes you get a fucking Hatchet. You know, you just...
Right.
It's a crapshoot.
Hey, but
I do appreciate somebody trying...
I do it, but I do appreciate them trying to do something original, even if it fails.
Yeah. Well, we've had lots of hits and failures for this show.
Oh,
we're getting late. We're getting longer and longer.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, that's it for this week, folks. DanielHarris.com. Horror Girl on Instagram. Tales from the Video Store proudly supports Danielle Harris's career. We love you, Danielle Harris. And if you're not familiar with Danielle Harris, here are some of the movies that she was in. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Marked for Death, The Killing Mind, City Slickers, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, The Last Boy Scout, Free Willy, Daylight, Urban Legend, Poor White Trash, Killer Bud, M&Me, Race You to the Bottom, Halloween, the Rob Zombie piece of shit, Left 4 Dead, Prank, Halloween 2, Blood Night, The Legend of Mary Hatchet, The Black Waters of Echo's Pond, God Killer, Walk Among Us, Cyrus, Hatchet 2, Stakeland, The Victim, The Trouble with the Truth, Nice Guys Finish Last, Shiver, Among Friends, Fatal Call, Hatchet 3, Hallows Eve, Camp Dread, Ghost of Goodnight Lane, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, See No Evil 2, Postpartum, Havenhurst, Victor Crowley, Inoperable, Between the Darkness, Camp Coldbrook, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and her latest is the Redwood Massacre Annihilation. Thank you for listening, folks, and remember, DanielleHarris.com or Horror Girl on Instagram.